Okay, my warriors, here we go. We made it to Thursday, April 21st, and your homework is going to be on a new chapter. This is Unit 12, Chapter 2, and it's called Histograms. Now, you guys in 4th grade, probably even 3rd grade, you learned about bar graphs. And bar graphs are used when you're comparing data. Like, for example, if you were comparing data about, you know how you do it in school. Sometimes you're comparing data about who likes what kind of ice cream the best, what color shoes, what color clothes, what color eyes. Whenever you're comparing data about anything, you're going to use a bar graph. But a histogram is kind of like a bar graph, but a histogram is used when you have a lot of data and you're just comparing a section of the data against another section. Now, if you look right here, you'll see the definition. It says a histogram is a bar graph of a frequency table. And a frequency table is just a table that lets you know how often something occurs. Now you can pause it right here and you can write that definition down in your notes. Make sure in your notes you have Thursday, April 21st, and you have Unit 12, Chapter 2 histograms written down. Okay, now let's see what a frequency table is and how we use a histogram. Now if you look right here, it says, let's move this out of the way first. It says the number of points that 24 students scored for a mathematics exam is shown below. How can we organize this data? Now if we tried to make a bar graph to organize this data, look at how many numbers we'd have to put on the bar graph. It actually looks like test scores in a typical class. There's 24 students, and there's 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24. That means there's 24 scores, so we have to make 24 bars on the graph. But the easier way to do it is to see how many times each one occurs. Well, if every number is different, you'd still have 24, so that doesn't limit it. So what they do in a histogram is they break it up into different sections. Like, if you look here, you'll see the lowest score is going to be in the 60s. I see 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. I see a 68, a 65, and I think 65 is going to be the lowest score. So if you think like kind of like we do with tests, like a 60 to a 69 is a D, a 70 to a 79 is a C. We want to see how many numbers that occur that are in the 60s. So if you look right here, it shows you 60 to 69. And there's two of them that occur in 60 to 69. There's 65 and there's 68. How many occur in 70 to 79? And there's 8. And you go through. You got 70, 73, 75, 72, another 75, 79, and 71. Altogether, there's 8 of them. There's 10 that are from 80 to 89. And then there's 4 that are from 90 to 99. So this right here is a frequency table. That just lets you know how frequent something occurs. 4 times a number occurs in 90 to 99. 10 times a number occurs in 80 to 89. 8 times a number occurs in 70 to 79. And 2 times a number occurs in 60 to 69. So you have a frequency table right here. The data in the table, as it says right here, can be shown on a histogram. Okay? So a histogram is going to be kind of like a bar graph, but it's going to be a little bit different. Now let's look at what that's going to look like. Here's the data again. The page is a little bit smaller. And here's how you would break it up into a histogram. It says a histogram makes it easy to see data that is grouped in intervals. Okay, this interval from 60 to 70 includes numbers from 60 to anything before 70, but not 70. It doesn't include 70. Okay, so if you look, there's 24 students in the whole class, but our scale over here doesn't have to say 24. The numbers that we're actually using are the 4, the 10, the 8, the 2. If you notice, those numbers are even numbers. 2, 4, you're missing 6, 8, 10. So if you use the scale over here and say 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, every one of those numbers is going to fit exactly on the scale. And that's what you want to do. And then if you remember right, over here it says 60 to 69. So this says 60, this says 70, this says 80, this says 90, this says 100. Okay, anybody that got below a 70 is going to go in here, and there were anybody that got below a 70, which is going to be 60 to 69, and there were 2 of them, so the bar goes up to the 2. And you notice on a bar graph, usually the bars are separated. They don't have to be separated, but on a histogram, the bars are together, okay, because you're comparing the numbers in between 60 and 70. So from 70 to 79, there were 8, so it goes up to 8. From 80 to 89, there were 10, so it goes all the way up to 10. And it goes over to 90, because those are all the ones that are less than 90, but more than 80. Okay, then for the last section, 90 to 99. Only 4 people got that. Okay, you notice this is called your scale. These are your categories: 60 to 69, 70 to 79, 80 to 89, 90 to 99. Okay, then down here, those are going to be your points that each person got. Okay, now let's go on to the next page where we analyze some of these. Here you see the histogram again. Let's answer some of these questions so we can get to see how the histogram actually works. It says, what is the total number of students represented in the histogram? Well, this one is 2, this one is 8, this one is 10. Oh, that's an ugly 10. That's 10. And this one is 4. So if we add those up, 10 plus 8 is 18, 19, 20, 24. So the answer here would be 24. There's 24 students. How many points are there in each interval? Now, each interval goes from 60 to 70, 70 to 80, 80 to 90, so there's 10. There's 10 points, because they're talking about the points side. They're not talking about the number of the students. We're talking about the points. There's 10 points in each interval. How many students scored at least 70 but fewer than 80 points? Okay, at least 70 but fewer than 80. At least made 70 but fewer than 80. Now if you look right here, fewer than 80, you see 8 of them are going to be fewer than 80. So, I'm sorry, I got distracted. My phone just rang. How many students scored at least 70 but fewer than 80? So, at least up to 70 but less than 80. Those are going to be the ones right between this interval, between the 70 and 80, and the answer is going to be 8. In which interval did most of the students score? Okay, each one of these sections is called an interval. The highest number is right here, which is the 10, and that's in between the 80 and 90. So you're going to put the 80 to 90 interval is where most of the students scored. And which interval did the fewest students score? Well, the 2 is where only 2 students scored between 60 and 70. So you're going to put 60 to 70. Okay? Which interval represents the mode? The number that occurs the most is the mode. Well, because most of the numbers occurred in this section, which was 10, that answer is also going to be 80 to 90, because most of the scores were in there. That's the largest amount. Remember, mode means most. What percentage of students scored at least 90 but fewer than 100 points? And that is G. So it says what percentage of students scored at least 90 but fewer than 100 points? Well, you see, at least 90, it means they got at least up to here, but they got less than 100, and there's 4 of them that did that. If you remember back, there's 24 in all, so you're going to say 4 24ths. Since they're asking percent, we've got to change that to a percent. To change it to percent, we're going to multiply it by 100. Okay. Well, obviously, 2 goes into this, 4 goes into this. Let's divide it by 4. 4 goes into 24 6 times. 4 goes into 100 25 times. 25 times 4 gives me 100. 6 times 1 gives me 6. Now I'm going to divide 6 into 100. 6 goes into 10 one time. 1 times 6 is 6. 10 minus 6 is 4. Bring down my 0. 6 goes into 40. 6 times 6 is 36. Subtract, you get 4. So you get 16 and 4/6, but you can reduce that to 2/3. So I would say 16, let me change this back to black, 16 and 2/3%, almost 17%. Okay, let me erase that one now. Likey, Elvis Presley has showed up for a minute. Likey, everybody. Likey. Okay, what fraction of students scored at least 60 but fewer than 70 points? So they want this one as a fraction. They got at least 60 but fewer than 70. And that's going to be 2 students scored at least 60 but fewer than 70, and that's 2 out of 24. We can reduce this. Never leave a fraction just like this. We always leave it in its simplest form. Divide by 2, divide by 2. 2 goes into 1, 2 goes into 2. Sorry. I know somebody's going to come in tomorrow and say, Mr. Wondrum, on that video you made a mistake, and you said you're supposed to say 1, and you said 2. Whatever. I caught my mistake. 2 goes into 2 1 time. 2 goes into 24 12 times. So my answer right here, I'll change this back, is 1/12, because it says what fraction. Oh, notice that percent fraction, and I did my answers right. How many students scored in the 70 to 80 point interval? We got 70 to the 80 point interval, and look at how easy that is. That's 8. So not only do we know what a histogram looks like, because remember, in a histogram, we're taking data, it's a lot of data, and we want to organize it in a way that we can analyze that data. We can look at it, we can figure out patterns in the data. That's often what I do with your test scores. And notice that was test scores, it says it right here. It's math test scores. Nobody got 100, so nobody really aced that test, but there were 4 that got 90s. Most people got Bs. Most people actually got Bs and Cs, and that's pretty good. But CI material, CSI material, I should say, you want most of the kids to be in the A's, but 14 out of the 24 had an A or a B, so that's not bad. That's pretty good. So that's how you do a histogram, okay? And that's how you analyze a histogram. Now tomorrow in class, we'll do some homework and you'll practice analyzing a couple histograms. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday, guys. I love being your teacher. Have a great day.